Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
If they're not having a go with a bird, they're having a row with a wanker.
All right, and welcome back to Full Kit Wankers. This week we got a lot of great mailbag questions from some people. One question from Serafin Garcia was, how would LeBron do as a player in the NFL as opposed to the NBA? And I think, I don't know, this is maybe just me, but I think there's a general consensus that he would do pretty well in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with that, Cohen. I think he would be an absolutely dominant force at multiple positions. I could see him being a receiver and being basically untouchable due to his size and athleticism. I could see him being a quarterback and being nearly untouchable due to his size and athleticism. Well, and even on defense, I could see him being like leading in picks and interceptions. Just he could be a monster at basically any position on the field aside from linemen, just because he doesn't have the pure size that NFL linemen do.
I think there's a pretty general consensus. Most people just think he's one of the most gifted athletes ever and he would do fine in the NFL. The problem with this question, I think, is that it's not dumb enough. I think it's a pretty good question, and we're looking for the dumbest questions in sports. So I was thinking about how to maybe turn this around a little bit and make it just like a lot stupider. And so my question is not how would LeBron fare in this time in the NFL, but how would LeBron fare as a medieval 1300s knight? How would LeBron fare on the battlefield? And for this, I brought in an expert. Christian Wynn is an amateur historian hailing from Portland, Oregon, currently stationed in Oklahoma. Christian, how are we doing?
It's good to be here. It's a beautiful day, and I'm glad to discuss this question with you guys and get into the weeds.
So I think there is 4 main questions I came up with. What's LeBron's weapon of choice? How many men could he slay in single combat in a row? How is he at jousting? And how is he like on the battlefield, like both on a horse and on foot?
And how many other stars does he need in order to win a fight?
So first, I want to go into what do you think his weapon of choice would be? Do you have any thoughts on that, Christian?
I think he would be absolutely devastating with a flail in open combat. The question is, he's probably going to take out as many of his own guys as enemies with a flail. I would also love to see him with a broadsword or a battle axe. Your guys' thoughts?
I think he would mess dudes up with a huge Scottish claymore, like a 5-foot-long sword. It's not even just the pointiness of it, just the brute force of getting hit with a 60-pound sword from LeBron James is just gonna fuck you up.
So that sheer force that he'd be able to generate, that's kind of why I was thinking more along the flail, mace, or warhammer kind of line. Like, LeBron James doesn't need to worry about getting through the chinks in the armor to cut you. He's just going to cave in breastplates with a 30-pound hammer that he swings like it's 5. Like,
also, LeBron has he has the distinct advantage of being like 6'10" at a time when everyone was 5 foot. So I feel like he's just he doesn't even need, he just needs a tiny little mace with a big freaking bulge on top, just crushing people.
I think the average height nowadays is about 5'10" to 5'11", but the average height back then, like in the 1300s, I was looking at it was something like 5'6" to 5'7" for males. So LeBron would be like,
he's a foot taller.
So guys just never got laid back then, huh?
No.
You'd have to take into account people back in the day were way like malnourished and everything, and LeBron with his like modern training methods and diet would just mess up peasants left and right.
One other quick thing, just for the general setting, I think LeBron would probably be bigger than he is now. So right now LeBron's like 250. I think he would be more 260 to 280 range, just because
much more fat.
not even fat necessarily. It's just he would benefit from having the extra strength to swing that hammer around more than the ability to run and chase somebody down and get a chase down block. Like, he just wouldn't need that speed as much, so I think he would be able to bulk up and then cave even more heads in.
And I mean, the best warriors, like you see in the movies, like Hollywood movies, like dudes, like knights with like six packs and stuff. That just wasn't the case because you just needed that brawn to swing that around. So most of those dudes had a bit of a beer belly or a mead belly.
The fat was actually really good for protection because, like, if your armor did get caved in, like, that could mess you up. But if you have a little bit of cushion, it'll protect you a little bit more than just the leather and metal would.
Yeah, definitely. Historians have looked into like ancient gladiators and their workout regimes and what they'd eat, and they were definitely a lot more like linemen than they were like wide receivers or linebackers. They were definitely bigger, had more cushion.
How do we think LeBron fares just on the battlefield? What do you think the tactics are against LeBron if you're a rival kingdom? How do you stop this man? And what is LeBron's tactic to just mess up as many fools as possible?
I think it's obvious, you know. You got to make him hit from range. Like you can't let him get a lot of momentum built up, running down, you know, full speed. You need him to hit from range. So, and the other thing is you gotta have a good cap on, you know, who he can bring in and who he can, you know, he's gonna want to just, you know, take over the whole operation. So you need to cut that from the top and not let LeBron get control and build his own super team.
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to need to do it Persians and 300 style and just rain showers of arrows on him from afar. That's the only way you're taking him down.
Yeah, the one downside I really see of LeBron as a knight is that he is a very big target. So he would need to be fully armored in plate, like really nice plate too, so crossbows can't be punching through it. It obviously depends on what specific era we're talking and region.
Speaking of like what area we're talking about, so LeBron's, as we all know, his knight contract is up pretty soon. What kingdoms do you think are putting out big agent offers for LeBron? Where do you think he's fielding offers from? Where do you think he's going?
I'm going Holy Roman Empire. They have the most money. Historically, they have the most rings. He's got to win one with them to prove that he's truly the best knight.
Wow.
And LeBron is friends with Charlemagne the God, who's
True.
a rapper. And Charlemagne was the first Holy Roman Empire.
There you go.
So.
Yeah.
I kind of like LeBron being part of the ancient Moorish conquerors.
Because he's black.
Well,
Because he's
yes,
black.
because you would not. No, seriously, you wouldn't see a black knight in ancient England or something. That just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And also, the Moors were very accomplished fighters. I think LeBron would have been a hero among them. It would be amazing to watch because he definitely would be trained in some of the best combat arts for the era, and it'd be incredible to watch.
Do we think he would be the greatest all-time? Is he the GOAT jouster? Do we think?
Yes.
I strongly don't think so. What does our historian say?
So Eric and I were actually discussing this earlier, and you brought up the good point that he's probably too heavy to put on a horse effectively. I mean, medieval war horses were massive, and I'm sure there were some large knights, but were there ever 6'9", 270-pound knights? I don't know.
I think his length he could just hit people before the other spear got there.
Well, so the other argument that works against that length is, again, the big target argument. If you're on a horse and it's shaking and you're trying to hit a guy with a stick, essentially, and he's trying to hit you with a stick, and whichever one gets hit is probably going to die from infection. LeBron's just he's a big target. The horse is moving a little slower because he's so heavy. You're probably going to be able to lay him out. I don't know if he'd be the GOAT in jousting.
He'd be devastating if he landed a direct hit, but think about most jockeys are like 5'5" and under because they're small targets. So lighter and faster.
Plus, from a physics standpoint, you get a lot more energy out of speed and velocity than you do out of the mass. The velocity is a squared function, so it is exponential. So even if your horse is only going a couple miles per hour quicker due to the weight difference, you'd have comparable or more energy than LeBron would just from the extra weight alone.
That's a decent point.
Wow. Yeah. Great analysis there, honestly.
Do you think LeBron James Jr. is going to be able to take over the family name as a knight? Is Sir Bronny going to be just as effective on the battlefield?
We'll have to see. So I've watched his high school and whatever videos whenever I see one. I don't know if he's going to be as good as dad. Like, he's definitely getting training, but I don't know if he's going to be a GOAT status player. And if you're not GOAT at basketball, like, can you even talk about being a knight? Like,
he looks like a good three-point shooter. He's not going to be as big as his dad, though.
yeah.
LeBron needed to marry, like, an Olympic hurdler or something.
LeBron needed to marry
really get
Serena
the-
Williams is what he needed.
Yeah.
That child would be unstoppable in basically any sport.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Are there any other thoughts on LeBron as a knight?
Does he have the knight IQ to manage vast estates and put down peasant uprisings across a large region? I don't know. Without
Look, I have been good family friends with the James clan for many years, and one thing LeBron has told me personally, he sends me many ravens, is that he is the greatest at all time of suppressing peasant rebellions. So that's what I have to say.
I do think he'd be pretty good at the whole managerial aspect and the estates. So I know he's done a lot for Akron schools, and he basically set up his own school, correct? So he definitely has, like, he's definitely a smart guy. And then he also, I think he definitely understands modern politics really well, so he'd probably be fine back then. Like, he was, about the whole Hong Kong thing, he was really good about deflecting answers. So he'd be a great medieval politician, I think.
The guy operates like $1 billion enterprise, so I think he's well fit to run
Yeah.
a small... Yeah.
He invested in Mod Pizza. No, not Mod. What's the other one?
Blaze.
Blaze Pizza. He invested in Blaze Pizza, and they are I think they were rated the best pizza chain in America last year. So, like, he definitely knows business, could definitely manage peasants. As we talked, he's just swinging that mace back and forth if there's a peasant uprising and ragdolling people like Skyrim.
Yeah, maybe
One problem is he'd have to, like, have his own custom-built castle because he'd be, like, too tall for most castles.
Well, if you're a good like liege or knight, you have a custom built castle. Like, that's the point of a castle. Is I want a custom big mansion, because it was either like mud shacks or a castle back then, I'm pretty sure.
And then he could, like, have it somewhere out in the countryside with a vineyard because he's all into wine and that.
Yeah.
Be living a good life.
Yeah, and he'll sell a bunch of his brand swords and armor that just
How many tankards of mead do you think he would take down after a victorious battle?
That's a
See,
good
I
question.
see LeBron he's more of a wine mom than he is like
100%. Yeah.
a slammer of beer.
But we're
So I
talking-
don't know if he's.
We're talking slightly overweight knight LeBron, though.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think he maintains that beer belly? He's burning a lot of calories swinging that sword or mace around. He's got to supplement with some mead for sure.
Yeah. What percentage was mead back then? Was it still, like, pretty high, or was it, like, a lot lower? Because mead now is like 10% a lot of the time. I don't know.
That's pretty decently high. That's a wine.
I think, well, isn't mead kind of like a beer wine, kind of like, it can be like honey
It's
beer?
a honey based. It's like
Yeah.
a honey beer basically.
Yeah,
then-
it's like
and then-
honey and fruit, I believe.
And then ale was just what you drank every day. Like, you just drank watered down ale and be like pretty buzzed all day.
It was a great time, yes. Don't
Yeah.
make me wish I was back then.